thanks so much to all of you for attending, and to both of you, of course, for coming today. And huge thanks to Joe and everyone at Pages of Hackney for hosting this conversation and for being such supporters of the book. My name's Fahana. I'm the publisher and director of Hajar Press, an independent publishing house by and for people of colour, with a special focus on experimental writing. I won't say too much, but I think appropriately, COOP, Nida's debut work, is a book that I think represents the absolute best of experimental writing. It's a book of short, very playfully crafted vignettes that capture the struggles and the ironies of precarious postgraduate life in London in the present times. It's gripping, funny, often heartwarming, and always very real and relatable. That's just a kind of short introduction to the book. I'll just introduce our two speakers. So we'll be hearing from Nida and Ayesha in conversation. Nida Sajid is a post-disciplinary educator, organiser and writer. She holds an MA in Cultural Studies from Birkbeck, University of London, specialising in experimental literature. Her debut work of short fiction, COOP, a Novelette, was published with Hajar Press in December 2025. Ayesha Manazir Siddiqi has published essays, reviews, short stories, poetry, monologues and translations, and has also written for radio and for the stage. She was also contributing editor for the serial podcast The Trojan Horse Affair, and her debut novel, The Santa, was published by Picador in 2023. So we're going to start with a reading and a discussion, and then we'll follow up with some questions from the audience at the end. We also have copies of COOP available to buy upstairs at the end of the event, which Nida will be very happy to sign afterwards. Without further ado, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Nida and Ayesha.
Hi everyone, I'm Ayesha. Thank you so much for coming. I hope everyone can hear me. It's so nice to be at this beautiful bookshop, and already I can feel the warmth, so I'm hoping for a good, deep, kind of engaging discussion. So we will chat for a little bit, and then Nida will do a Q&A, and then we'll chat some more, and then maybe another, Nida will do a reading, and then we chat some more, and then Nida will do another reading, and then in the last half hour we'll open up for a Q&A. So I'll start by saying congratulations on this very beautiful book. Can you tell us a little bit about how this book went from kind of like, even how you came up with the idea, and then how it went from an idea into this thing we're holding in our hands?
Yeah. So it started in 2023, I think. I was just finishing my master's at Birkbeck, and I had poured every ounce of myself into my thesis, and I was quite worried that I would get very depressed after I submitted it. So I think I was trying to mitigate the impending doom, and I thought it would be nice to do something like not too cerebral and not too stressful, so creative writing kind of made sense at that time. Which in hindsight was maybe naive, because I think it was quite cerebral and it was quite stressful. I didn't know at the time. And then my thesis looked a lot at the politics of belonging in Black British fiction. So I was kind of both looking at the content of the novels as well as looking at their wider reception within the publishing landscape. So I kind of knew that I wanted to explore similar themes within my creative work, and initially I think I just started with the vignettes about the bookshop, which when I was workshopping it maybe felt a bit monotonous because it was just kind of like one after another, and I knew I needed some sort of like kind of ribbon to bind everything together. And that's when I thought of the 10-week creative writing course, because I thought, well, that gives me a scaffold to kind of work with, and it means it'll be a slim book and I'll be done soon. So that kind of carved out an opening for the other narratives to seep in. So yeah,
Do you mean the creative writing course that the protagonist does, or did you yourself also?
The protagonist does one, and I
Yeah.
had also done a few, because I don't
Right.
have a writing background. I'd only written academically before, so I felt like I definitely needed some
Oh wow.
tutoring.
And with your original, the masters,
Yes.
you said you learned about the sort of reception of. Do you feel that kind of prepared you for now kind of entering this landscape, or do you think it informed?
Yeah, I think maybe yes and no, because I think in my dissertation I was criticizing the more mainstream publishing space and how often like the work of female practitioners of fiction is read really reductively, so that either as a gateway into studying the community or
Yeah.
as a confessional narrative, and I was arguing for a need to expand those critical parameters. But I feel like my trajectory has been like quite different, because like Hajar are so politically principled, and I think maybe the reception of my work has been through the lens of Hajar Press, and I think that's helped a lot, and I don't think that's something I've had to grapple with, if that makes sense. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are familiar with Hajar Press, but it's been this kind of monumental feat of an independent publishing house that was set up solely with this kind of purpose of political integrity, and the way that they've carried forward has been amazing to watch, and you can see it in their writers and the work they publish.
And it's just 3 incredible people, which
It's unreal.
still continues to blow our mind.
Yeah. But what about that bit of the process? How did you find a publisher? And
Yeah. So initially I thought I would do everything the traditional way. So I thought I would have to get an agent to then be eventually published. And I started sending it out to a few places, and I think everyone was very enamored with the writing, but very unsettled by the politics. And I got a lot of, you write really well, but not this one. But have you got anything else to show us? And I was like, no, because I can only write one thing at a time. So this is all I have. So I found that quite tricky, and there was some misalignment in how to pitch it. So for me, the book is about work and words, which is what the tagline is now as well. But I think someone wanted me to pitch it as like a book about the brutal realities of living in a brown body, which I just find that's the reaction I had. So just in a way that completely glosses over why life might be difficult for people of colour, and just kind of sensationalizes the suffering of it. And then I had gifted one of Hajar's book to one of my friends, who can't be here today because she didn't know she had to buy a ticket. She read it, and she said, oh, you should definitely submit your manuscript to Hajar, like I can totally see it working. And I thought they're probably inundated with work from every POC writer. I was like, oh, what are the chances? But I thought I would do it anyway. And then I think I got a response quite quickly, maybe within a month, which was amazing. And my only grievance is that Farhana got back to me on the 1st of April. So I thought it was an elaborate April Fool's prank. And then I remember I had to send the email to my partner to just make sure that. And then he was saying, well, why would they write such an effusive email
all the more good at
and I was like, I don't know, maybe they're really out to get me. But then we spoke on Zoom, and I signed the contract, and
And was it? And from signing to publication, was that a shorter?
Yeah, I think it was a lot shorter than it would be traditionally, because I think one of the books was maybe taking a while to edit. So then I was asked if I wanted to sort of skip in the queue and go first? And I was like, yeah, that would be great. Yeah, so it happened quite quickly. So I think, yeah, because that was in April and it's Jan now, so yeah, less than a year.
I mean, it's interesting that you say the politics of the text was was a kind of like maybe a factor that made people hesitate, because I think the other thing about the book is also its form. Like it's very experimental in form, and so many publishers are stuck in this thing of like traditional, like we publish what has already been done. So that is also something exciting and new, which is which can be.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was something that was quite important. You know, a few people did suggest reworking it, but I think the form was quite fundamental to how I'd envisioned the text would work. So I think I wasn't really willing to kind of negotiate on that. So I'm glad I persevered because it's worked out. Yeah.
Maybe this is a good time to give people an idea of what the book likes. Do you want to do a little reading?
Yeah, that sounds good. Should we do the bus scene?
Which one is that again? What page?
It is 68.
Yeah, I wonder if we need any scene. I mean, basically, the protagonist is a woman called Lena, and she works in a bookshop, like Nida said, and she's kind of navigating the precarity of her life, and also the kind of trauma that has come from other places. And she also is very, very preoccupied with words. And this section kind of illustrates that. It would be interesting to hear about your own kind of relationship with words after, maybe.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. The 55. There is a signal failure at Oxford Circus. I have to get the 55 towards Walthamstow. I'm barricaded in the back by a group of boisterous boys and an auntie with a vermilion bindi. She's watching a subtitled soap on her phone, without earphones, of course. She tuts at our noisy denizens, turning up the volume in retaliation. Her coarse sari scrapes my thigh. I silently curse TFL. The bus sputters forward on the A road, hemmed in by traffic. A man gets on at the next stop, smelling like deep-fried vomit. He staggers towards the back, unfazed by the bedlam. Hindi dialogue and high-pitched cackles. The doors hiss as he sinks into a recently vacated seat, garish blue with an ochre pattern. I close my eyes and pretend I'm in a sensory deprivation tank. When that fails, for obvious reasons, I try looking out the window. Past a flock of cropped bangs and bad dye jobs, I see a co-op sign. It's split over 2 lines, stretching out, having shed the hyphen. Is this enjambment? I make a mental note to ask Lydia. I take in the typeface. It's soft and round, presumably to connote comfort. I wonder if it's a beautiful word or an ugly one. Somewhere in the middle, I decide. I open Google Keep and make a list of words that sound similar. Coop, coop, coo, coo, cool, clue, cloop, croup, cruel, cruel. I stop when I get to 10 and try to memorize them, again and again, until the phonemes feel foreign. When a set of lips next to me says, I'm getting off here, I stare at them, confused.
And then in the text itself, she has that list a few times, repeated it a few times, so you kind of feel the impact of that yourself a little bit.
Yeah, which I don't think I could read it 6 times without cracking up. So I skipped that. Yeah.
Did the title come? When did the title come? Because the title is COOP. So
yeah, not co-op.
Yeah.
I think the title came quite early on, and I quite liked the title because it worked on 2 semantic levels. So coop as in a chicken coop, because there's a lot of kind of corporate claustrophobia in the book, and then coop as in what the co-op sign also looks like. So I was quite tied to the title, and I was really hoping no one would change it. So
Yeah. I really like
yeah, but it came quite early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with, I mean, it would be interesting to know what you think that Lena is doing with this practice of kind of taking those words, and because to me there seems to be a self-soothing element to it, or why do you think she goes
Yeah,
in
definitely. I really like that framing of it as self-soothing. I don't know if I'd explicitly thought of it like that, but yeah, I think I agree with that. So she's doing the creative writing course and maybe exploring it as an avenue where she can exercise some sort of agency. And I think this scene's quite early on, and it's maybe where the line between her life in the bookshop and this new life that the creative writing course is giving her has sort of started to blur. So I think she thinks of what she learns in the creative writing course when she's just going about her day, and then those words start to seep in. Yeah, and maybe it has this sort of like hypnotic, self-soothing effect on her, where she's able to sort of calm herself down with them. Yeah.
Yeah, you also kind of see, I mean, to me, it's also a reflection of what the writer often does in kind of breaking apart words or obsessing over words, or kind of both escaping from the world using into this other world of words, but also, like you said, trying to get a sense of control and agency via some kind of building.
Yeah.
Has this been is this like part of the reason why you kind of became a writer? Have you always had a fascination and preoccupation with words?
Originally, I would say just reading words and maybe trying to remember what I'd read.
Did you read a lot as a kid?
I read a lot as a kid, but I won't say I wrote a lot. I think I'm quite late to writing. And I always felt like, you know, if I wanted to write something, I would just not have the words despite reading so much. So I think that's something that came quite late. And I think I exclusively read fiction for a very long time, and I was very opposed to poetry until one of my friends, Ollie, who's here, he essentially forced me to engage with it.
What was the poet that he first recommended?
I can't remember if there was a specific poet. I think there was just a general veneration of poetry, and I think I just got quite sick of the pontificating, so I thought, okay, I'll read a poem. And I think it took a while, but once I realised that it's not necessarily about getting it, it's just getting what you need from it, right? So that could be a phrase that you like, that could be a feeling that it makes you feel. Then I think I really fell in love with it, and I think I started writing poetry before I started writing prose, so that was the kind of way into it.
And you see that kind of difference in style from poets who kind of turn to prose. There's something there that explains the experimental nature of it.
Yeah, I suppose so, because it's not a traditional narrative in that sense.
Speaking of agency, I think one of the most, and control, one of the most arresting bits of the book are around Lena's relationship with food. And there's so much there, but at the same time it feels like it's all told at such a slant that it's almost like a blink and you'll miss it thing. Like on the one hand it's so important and so clearly so deep and painful and serious, and on the other hand it's only ever hinted, I mean maybe a bit more, but on some level it's hinted at more than looked at directly. And I wonder if that's like the protagonist's kind of fear of looking at the thing or saying the thing, or whether like it's the writer being protective over the like I was curious as to how this was depicted and why.
Food. I'm hungry now, I can't think. Yes.
It's probably a tough part of the book to talk about as well.
Definitely. So there's like 3 registers in the book. So there's a main narrative where Lena's in the workshop and she starts doing the creative writing course, and then there's the actual creative writing she does, so her experiments, and then there's the text messages from the parents. And yeah, I think probably the first one, because I think she can only look at like her eating disorder through a kind of fictive lens, so she's able to explore it through the creative writing experiments that she does, but she's not quite ready for it to like penetrate the facticity of the main narrative. Yeah, so I think that's why it's sort of kind of quite oblique, and I think I didn't want to give too much away and I wanted to keep it quite cryptic, partly because there is a lot of secrecy surrounding an eating disorder, right? That's and partly I think I also wanted to involve the reader in the meaning making process and see what they're able to bring in to kind of almost write into those apertures that I'd kind of created. Yeah, does that make sense?
That's really beautifully put. That's really nice. Also because her relationship with her eating disorder changes as the book develops, and her relationship with her writing is changing as well, and those seem connected. The ways in which she tells the story changes what's happening inside her, right?
Yeah.
So there's something...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you're demonstrating something quite profound there, I think.
Yeah, because I think those are the two like outlets she's exploring, right? There's the kind of food and exerting more control over it. And then there's the writing. And she's sort of like looking to both for answers. And as the book goes on, we kind of see what she leans towards more. Yeah.
And do you think it's that itself, the fact that she's able to invest more in herself and her self-actualization, that... Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Or I hope so, anyway. Yeah.
That's beautiful. You also mentioned the text from the parents, which are so... I don't know if you want to read one out. How do you feel? Because they're really moving. Is there any that you'd like to...
I'm going to assume we want one of the dad ones, because I think the mum's unloved.
Oh.
No, I'm
so
kidding,
so
I'm
the
kidding.
text is interspersed with these texts that she gets from her mum and dad, and they're cued with like...
Maybe I can read... I can read one where there's a contrast between the mum and the dad after she finishes her PhD.
Oh, that's a good one.
So maybe I'll read,
Is that page?
That's page 16. Okay. Pass with no corrections. The external examiner praises my thesis. I'm awarded a PhD in art history. A pass with no corrections. When I get home, I look up defense in the dictionary. Defense. Noun. 1. The action of defending from or resisting attack. 2. The case presented by or on behalf of the party accused of a crime or being sued in a civil lawsuit. 3. In sport. The action or role of defending one's goal or wicket against the opposition. I wonder what life would be like if war weren't a metaphor we lived by. And then there's a text from Mum. Oh my God, you are brilliant. Oh my God, heart emoji. You put a lot of effort. Unbelievable. Heart emoji, smiling emoji. I prayed a lot for you. Well done, Ronnie. Clap emoji. And then there's a text from Dad. I have seen your message about your PhD and it was a pleasant surprise for me. I'm very much keen to know what you are studying and why you are studying. Lena, in the beginning, children learn from their parents, and afterwards, parents learn from their children for the rest of their life. Although I don't know much about you, but what I know is that you must be doing the best. So, dance, little lady, dance. Brackets, a famous song.
It's so sweet, like it's so relatable, and it's so the ways in which his it's very funny. um, have, again, like the biggest, I'm sure you wrote about this in your thesis, but the annoying, and I faced this with my own writing, the annoying thing of people assuming that your book is like the protagonist is you and all of that. I mean, these texts kind of lead people's temptation that way, but I'm going to try and like, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm asking, like, by the way, have your parents read the book and what did they think?
So I gave everyone a copy of my book at Christmas.
All your family members?
Yes.
Oh,
my mum has read it. I think she finished it the other week, and she said it made her very sad and very proud. So I'll take that. Yeah. The others is unclear at the moment, but we'll see. Yeah.
How did that feel, kind of giving everyone a copy of your...
Yeah, it felt really special. I think my mum reading it felt even more special because she's never read any of my writing before. And the only thing I'd written before this that I was proud of was my dissertation, which was so dense that I actually wouldn't really want her to attempt to read that. Yeah, so it was really nice to be able to share something like that with her. Yeah, it's really special.
In some of the texts that the protagonist exchanges with her father, there's conversations about Urdu poetry.
Yes.
And in your acknowledgements as well, you thank the poets and the poetry, the shairs and the shairi.
Yeah.
Do you have a relationship with Urdu poetry?
No.
No? Okay.
Well,
was that research for the book itself?
No. So I do have very vivid memories of my dad reciting poetry when I was younger. So there was definitely this presence of the oral tradition in our house, and I think semantically it was like nonsensical to me at the time because I was so young, but I remember it being a very evocative like experience in the way he read it. So I remember that, and I think in the book originally I had some poets who then I had to take out because I obviously hadn't thought about copyright when I was writing it, because you're never really thinking of it being published. And then the poets I ended up with eventually, quite a few of them are unknown, so the poem has just been kind of passed down through the oral tradition. So I think I was just thinking a lot about this like legacy of verse, and I felt like I had to kind of acknowledge the people whose name I didn't know but whose work I was using or sort of like memorializing in print. So I think it was more a nod to them. They might come forward, I don't know. Probably not, because they died 50 years ago. But yeah.
Yeah. I remember keeping some of my, like, the copywritten stuff, and then the permissions route is a whole other thing. Like, oh my gosh.
I just replaced them.
Yeah, it's easier, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah. No, now that I know, I feel like I'm much less likely to go there. As I said, the protagonist works in a bookshop, and she feels, and this makes her feel kind of cynical about literature. She says books sort of become reduced to commodities and lose meaning for her. And I wonder if your relationship with literature has changed since kind of being, even though, like you said, Hajar is a very different kind of press, and even this bookshop, it's been so nice that you're getting to engage with spaces, independent spaces, but nonetheless, have you felt that kind of thing of, oh, like suddenly I am a commodity, or my work is a commodity? Have you had that feeling? Has that felt strange, and does that affect the writing itself?
Yeah, I think it definitely made me more conscious of it, and I think because the book is quite metafictional, I did think about the book as a product as I was writing it, and I tried to like envision this interstitial stage almost, where the book is not quite a mass-produced product and it's not quite a loose leaf manuscript, but like I wondered if there's a space in the middle somewhere where the book is being bound by someone with like care and compassion and curiosity, and then there's a bit in the book that speaks to this where Lena looks at point of view in her creative writing course, and then she writes a poem from the perspective of a book that's being bound by someone. I don't know if it helps if I read.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
that'd be
have we got
great.
time?
I think we do, yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll do that. Okay. Okay.
This page.
It's 110.
I love to follow along. Okay.
Creative Writing Week 7. Point of View. Lydia delineates 3 types of narratives. First person, I. Second person, you. Third person, she, he, they, it. The latter is further triangulated into omniscient, inside everyone's head. Limited, inside one head. Objective, inside no heads. Someone mentions a recently published Scandinavian novel narrated by objects. I click on the Goodreads link they post in the chat. One review describes it as original, another as a bit boring. I go to bookshop.org and buy it. And then there's a poem. On paper. I was nervous before the surgery, even though my friends had reassured me that there was nothing to worry about. After all, it was standard procedure, at least on paper. So I braced myself to be cut open by a specialist who had cut open many before me. Piled up on the operating table, I could not help but admire her winding fingers, which threaded the needle with skill and care, like calligraphy without a canvas. Then slowly, with sinewy blue hands, she began to sew the row of holes lining my spine, using silver tweezers to make delicate knots, careful not to tear the neighbouring skin. Once she finished the sutures, she applied a thin coat of white glue with soft brushstrokes, her wrist rippling across the freshly stitched wound. Finally, she dressed it with thick strips of tanned fabric, pressing it down for the glue to set. Done at last, she cupped her neck with a smiling hand, stepping back to view her handiwork. I stayed where I was, ready to be read.
You have such a gentle tone of voice that really contributes to the poetry. That was very beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And also I like that idea of kind of resisting the anxiety of being like, oh, now my book is a thing, but instead kind of honoring the object in that way and seeing the object also as a living thing rather than,
Yeah.
So that's quite, that's very beautiful. What do you think is coming next for you? I'm getting the sense of a transition into poetry, possibly. How are you? No?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a small, modest collection of poems, which I may or may not abandon if I think of an idea for a novel. So that's where we're at the moment. Yeah.
But this also sort of started like that. It was a collection of things that then came together to form a...
That's true,
so
yeah.
you never
Initially
know.
it was just vignettes, and I was workshopping them, but I wasn't necessarily thinking of them as a kind of cohesive project. So I think it sort of gradually and organically came together, but that wasn't the intention when I started it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question about the book itself. So the primary sort of relationship, what appears to be the primary relationship in the book itself, besides these text messages that are coming in, are between the protagonist and her friend, who also works in the bookshop. And it's a very kind of dynamic, interesting, political relationship. What was your sort of motivation behind keeping this friendship so central to because Lena goes on one terrible date, but other than that, there's no none of that. Really, it's the friendship that seems to be the core.
Yeah. I think maybe that kind of ties to the title, because co-op is also a cooperative. And I think I had that at the back of my mind, that she's got all these things in her life that she's grappling with, but she maybe doesn't have a very strong sense of community. But I think maybe Belle as a character because they're so warm and loving and caring, I think it allowed me to just insert a sliver of that in Lena's life, and maybe to suggest that in the future, once she's figured out the answers regarding food and writing, then community might be something that she could grow into more. I was trying to make it less bleak, I think.
Yeah, but that theme in itself is quite powerful, because there is this idea of her, like there is clearly a something around intimacy, which I so relate to in my own work and life, like this, the difficulties in connection, how hard it is, that kind of give and take, and that to have like a genuine sort of like, to kind of look past all the bullshit and actually connect, and like the vulnerability of that.
Yeah.
And that grappling you have, I thought you illustrated.
Yeah, definitely. And I think because like she's wrestling with so much, like materially, I think she just doesn't have the cognitive capacity to go and build a community, or to let people into her life, because I think she's so exhausted and run down by, you know, the calorie counting and the daily humiliations she's experiencing at work. So I think I kind of wanted that to be an element of the book as well, that if you're so politically run down, it can be quite difficult to then engage with people who ironically you need to get you out of that dire situation. So it's a sort of vicious cycle in that sense.
Which I think is something that so many of us can relate to, especially living in a city like this where everything's so fast-paced and individualistic.
For sure.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, it's interesting because you seem to describe the book as bleak often, but there's this like real hopefulness and humor and joy as well, I thought.
That's true. Originally it was more bleak.
Yeah.
I think now I have injected some more humor into it.
Has the process, like, has it been daunting? How does it feel today, like launch day finally?
Yeah. It feels so surreal.
Yeah.
Like, I have completely disassociated, which is why I'm not really looking at sorry, I'm not looking at anyone. I'm not making any eye contact. But it feels very surreal and strange, but in a brilliant and beautiful way.
Yeah, I remember on my launch day, I was describing it as like the volume's been turned up on life. Like the highs kind of felt higher and the lows felt lower.
Oh, wow.
So disassociation might be a good strategy.
Yeah. Earlier I described it as my funeral.
People say wedding after I heard funeral.
I don't know why I went straight to funeral, but I was like,
Really?
everyone I love is here, and I got flowers.
Everyone's talking about what they like about you. It's shall we open it up maybe to Q&A? Do people have questions? Otherwise I can keep going. But if anyone would like to ask anything, the floor is open. Yeah.
I'll ask a question. Hey, I was just wondering, like, the book has like a baseline, right? The kind of list of songs at the start.
Oh yeah.
Which I think like all the books in Hajar Press have that.
Yeah.
How do you, as a writer, kind of like imagine people interacting with the playlist, or what would be your dream way for people to interact with the playlist as they're kind of enjoying your books?
That's a great question, Ollie.
Thanks.
Oh, that's Ollie, the poetry guy, right?
Ollie, yeah. I don't know, to be honest. Initially, I thought I would do like a curated playlist that people could listen to whilst they're reading the book, which I'm sure is the purpose of the book. But then I thought, why don't I just pick like 10 dub songs that I really like and listen to like on repeat, and then just put them in the playlist, which is what I did. So I'm not sure if people are listening to the playlist and reading the book, I think that's wonderful. If you're not, that's also okay, and we can still be friends. But yeah.
Do you listen to music while you write?
Yes, but not too lyrical, more instrumental. Yeah. Do you?
No, not so much, but I do because I write plays as well, and for those it seems to be easier.
Okay.
But I do the playlist thing sometimes for specific characters to understand who they are. I'm like, oh, this person listens to this,
Oh, that's cool.
and that helps me get into
Nice.
But if Hajar does playlists for each of their books, does that mean that they asked you to then like compile it? Oh, that's how
Yeah.
Oh, and what's the sort of, how did that start?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think that different writers definitely approach it differently. We kind of just wanted to have the books be more than just a sort of reading experience, especially because we don't do audiobooks at the moment, and so they're all just kind of, you know, obviously the reading experience is going to be different for everyone anyway, but if you kind of have something which kind of adds a sonic backdrop, then it kind of helps to I don't know, add more sort of layers to the reading experience. And I think in terms of how writers pick their songs, it varies from kind of like, some writers do pick songs that maybe they're really imagining the reader listening to that while they're reading, like very literally, but a lot of the time it will just be, this was what I was listening to at the stage of my life that I was writing the book. It doesn't even have to be while I was putting the words on the page, but it just captures something about what the spirit of the book is, because it's so tied to the writer's writing experience.
It can be a fun way to kind of interact with the book on a different level, I suppose. Is there anything else?
I was wondering if, in the same way that Lena has Google Keep and is writing down a list of words, if and how you do that as a writer, because like the book is so full of words that I didn't know. And just kind of wondering if you do that, one, and two, if you do that, you have some sort of like classification system so that you can like pull out words. And I was kind of curious on how you like manage to have so many crazy words in your head, basically.
I use standard notes, which I think is a more secure and less surveillance-y note-taking app, and I organize them alphabetically. I'm embarrassed to say. I think that's just how my brain works, and then within the alphabet I'll try and cluster by sound. So if it's C but the words are starting with a ka sound, then they'll be together, or if they're starting with a sa sound, then they'll be together. But I think it feels quite neat if it's alphabetical, and then it means when I find a new word, it's just very easy for me to just go in and pop that in. And then I also have paper notebooks, which I organize similarly. I'll show you, Ava. I'll show you later. Okay.
And do you refer to these lists when you're actually writing poems, or?
Not really, but I think it helps me knowing that I have a bank of words that I can kind of look at if I need to. The only one I actually refer to is a recent one I've started, which is of colours, because I only know primary colours. I only know like green, blue and red. And then I think in one of our edits I had to go back and like just change all the colours, because everything was...
You chose to.
Okay, I chose to. Sorry, yes. I chose to. Hannah didn't say anything. No. I chose to. Because I was like, why is everything like blue and yellow and green? And then one of my friends who's here, Leona, she's very good at colours. She taught me the colour periwinkle. So now I have a list of colours. So I do refer to that when I'm writing something, so I know what the colour is. But with other words, I'm usually okay.
And I'm like, I don't even know what periwinkle is now. I feel like it might be duck blue. Oh yeah, close. I was thinking something like that.
Yeah, close enough.
Oh, that's a pretty color. Is that in this now?
That's
something? No.
Oh, in the next one maybe.
Oh, no. There's also like the ways in which moods are created via color. I think Toni Morrison maybe used to do that a lot, but it's I've never been able to do that, but the idea of kind of infusing moods by mentioning certain colors over and over. There's
I need to read more color theory.
Do we have more questions? Yes.
Obviously, like the timeline of the book, do you have like after, or like in your head when you were writing it? Did how come you stopped where you did, or like do you have thoughts of where Lena is now, or in your head even, or do you write them and not use them? Or?
Yeah. So initially I actually stopped on the penultimate page, so I didn't have the morning after section. I ended it on a room of one's own 4. And then I kind of wanted to leave it really ambivalent and for the reader to decide what happened after. But then I thought the world is on fire, so maybe...
Some hope.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
I think some hope, and I think maybe I needed that for myself at the time. Yeah, so I think for me then it made sense to end it on the morning after. And as to where Lena is now, well, I hope she's happy. In my head, she's definitely happy, or at least less depressed. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way you were describing it earlier as well, I found it quite moving, this idea of like the things that she's grappling with and how maybe this is a route to which she will find community. It made me feel like you do see kind of like a positive after. There's something you're
I think so.
conceptualizing. Yeah.
And I think like having Belle in her life as well, because I think when I was finishing it, I almost felt as if, you know, Belle has custody of Lena now and Belle will look after her. So
yeah.
it was a sort of, you know, bittersweet parting in that sense.
But also the idea of how important that is, how much community can sustain us, and it's sort of the only thing that can, was moving.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was saying to my partner last night, I was getting quite upset and saying that it just feels so like silly and self-absorbed to just sit in a room and like talk about my book when, you know, everything that's happening around us. And then he was saying, yeah, but surely everyone who's coming to the launch is going to be wrestling with the same thing. So then does it not make sense for us to get together and like wrestle with those feelings together, which I think made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need community.
Yeah. And you can also sense the warmth in the room, which is also a testament to that, you know, that thing that we're all very invested in building and why we're here, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you would, I guess there is this fear of like it being somehow self-indulgent, but it's scary. It's scary to bring people together, and it's actually an act of generosity often. Yeah. Right?
I think I'm someone who never celebrates anything. I've only recently started celebrating my birthday.
Yeah.
Or have been coerced into doing so. So I think it's quite new for me to kind of have a gathering like that, but I love the generosity lens. So yeah, maybe this is me being magnanimous. I don't know.
It is.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, same. I find that hard too, but the idea of like, this is what I've been saying, the idea of like actually when you share your kind of problems, that you're giving someone a gift rather than being like, let me solve yours or something.
That's so true.
Yeah, so there's something there.
Yeah. And even when we met up, right, because we went for a tea like a week or 2 ago, and I felt that was such an unexpectedly like open conversation that we ended up having, because we haven't met before. We've obviously read each other's work.
Yeah.
And there was just this like outpouring of emotion that we both sort of swam in for an hour or 2, and I felt very fulfilled after that.
So did I. Yeah, I agree. I think also like this world of writers, like you're so in your own head, and the only way to make the book in the first place is you have to lock yourself up in a cave. Like how else are you going to write it?
Yeah.
And then to meet someone else who also spends so much time in the underground is like, I mean, you'd also read everything. Like I mentioned an essay and you'd read that. So that too, I came home and I was saying to her, oh my God, she's like read everything. It's like there is kind of like a shared language there as well, which is
definitely
meaningful, because sometimes it's hard to make sense of why you do what you, I don't know how you see it, whether you see it as kind of like you can't not do it, or like what do you think drives your work, your writing? Oh, we're doing Q&A, but we're doing both together. So sorry.
I mean, obviously I haven't done it for a long time, but I think now that I've started doing it, I can't imagine not doing it. Because I feel like there's, you know, so many amalgamations of ideas like in my head, and I think writing can be a way to just work through those. So I think initially I'm always writing for myself, and then if that becomes a more expansive or a more public project, then that's nice to have.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Although it can be so excruciating as well, can't it?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, for sure.
More questions? Yes.
You know, every writer has a different approach to reading while they write. Some people avoid, some people will read lots of different things or a certain style. Did you have a certain approach as you were writing, and has your relationship with reading changed throughout this process as a result of the beautiful book that you've now published?
That's a great question. Yes, I have an approach. So if I'm writing something, I can read anything that's not the genre I'm writing in. So I was reading a lot of poetry, and I was reading a lot of academic texts around like language and translation. Some of your work in violent phenomena, of course. But I can't read the genre that I'm writing in. I think partly because I'm petrified that I'm going to plagiarize something accidentally, and partly because I think it'll bruise my ego a bit if what I'm trying to do I find someone else has done already and better. So I find it gives me the space to do what I want to do if I'm not engaging with that specific genre. Do you do that?
I think so. I was just thinking, like, in a way, I feel like there's something kind of pharmaceutical to it. Like, even without knowing it, I'm drawn to the thing that I need almost like medicine. And it's the exact thing that I'm grappling with. So these days, I still don't know what it means, but I'm finding myself drawn again to like very theoretical, dense, like academic-y type stuff.
Yeah.
And I think what that is like a kind of signal that hopefully I'm hoping that something is going to come, like a new work. But it's sort of like as if it's pulling me into this place where I'm grappling with just the ideas themselves. But I sort of follow it and then see what comes. But yeah, I can completely relate to not. I mean, it's both. Sometimes I read only that. My new book is there's a dog, and suddenly I find myself reading like only books about dogs, but like kind of like academic. So it's a different genre.
Professor Dog.
Yeah. But it's sort of mixed. Yeah, poetry. I haven't read that much poetry. Who are kind of poets that you like?
No, I'm not going to be able to name a single poet. No, I'm kidding. So there's lots of poets I really admire. I love Victoria Adukwe-Bully.
Oh yeah, you were saying
her collection Quiet, which I don't know if people here have read it, but it's all about having a very rich interior life and like finding meaning amidst noise. And I think I cried for 3 days convulsively after I read it because it was just so life affirming. And yeah, I think it's a beautiful book. And I also love Ocean Vuong's work, just like how voluminous it is in its vulnerability. My friend Bushi, who sat there, we joke that Ocean Vuong should be called Open Wound because there's just this like avalanche of emotions in his work, and I think it's really, really beautiful work. So those would be my recommendations if you wanna.
I remember listening to an Ocean Vuong interview where he was like, very often just has to go into a very quiet, dark room and just sit, and I so relate to this feeling.
He cries in every interview, which I think is so great. I cry before mine. Do you? But I love that he just does it mid-interview.
During. Yeah. Sometimes it can become a part of the performance, so I don't know. It's complicated.
I think Ocean can do it. I'm not sure about us.
Have you the poetry or the prose? Which of the two appeal with Ocean Vuong?
With Ocean Vuong. Oh, I think both really. I feel his prose is also so poetic, and I think he breaks all the conventional rules of creative writing. Like his latest novel that I read, he starts with like a 16-page description of nature, which he actively tells his students not to do. So I find it really beautiful, and I just love how much of an open wound he is. Arundhati Rai has this really nice quote where she says, "The living in the world as a poet is like living without skin," and I think there's something so defiant about being able to experience things so deeply when the world around us is constantly trying to inure us against violence. So I think poets who are able to do that, like, I really, really respect. Especially as I'm quite repressed. So. But I'm working on it.
I don't know about that. It's such a contradiction though sometimes, like events like this where so many writers find themselves kind of in this little world of the mind, taking their skin off and just sitting there, and then suddenly it's like, oh, come, like a group of 50 strangers, like read your work and talk about your private life. Yeah, there can be a contradiction there. And has that been difficult to navigate?
A little bit, I think. I think via text I'm fine, like if someone wants to speak about the book, but I think if someone comes up to me and says something in person, I think I just shut down. I'm like, let's talk about you. What have you been up to? But I think I'm also very fortunate to be in a place where that's something that's happening, so I'm trying to disassociate less and enjoy it more. So.
And kind of learning your capacity. I think with me, the interview thing, I was like, it has to be an email interview.
Right.
Because every time it was verbal, it would just sound so bad on the page, and it would make me cringe because the things you say versus, you know, the way you want, especially as a writer, the way you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but kind of finding those lines for yourself. I guess. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do we have more questions? Yes.
I have a question about the texts in the book. I love them.
Yay.
So yeah, like I have read them out to people to be like, it's so like relatable. Like it's relatable, but it's also very easy with text to kind of make parents like a caricature, or like stereotype them. But I feel like that doesn't happen in the book. And it's kind of cool that it doesn't happen, and they feel more like they don't feel like static characters or static people and their relationship. So yeah, I was just like wondering like your thought process of like how you decided first to do texts, and then also like it's not purely comedy in the texts, but that's also a comedic element. But how you decided to like make it so that it wasn't like, oh, you know, it's very easy to take. It's very easy to like
the typical South Asian parent. For sure. So originally I didn't have the text, which is when I just had the bookshop vignettes, and like I think because Lena engages with literature in this very extractive context in the bookshop, and there's that gap between what people say and what people do. I was thinking a lot at the time about language and how it's constantly being disrupted, and then I was thinking about the day-to-day of her life and how a shift would pass when she's at work. And then I kind of wanted like her day to be disrupted by these digital like intrusions, and in a way for language itself to be disrupted by other mediums of communication. And then that's when I initially added a few, and then it was quite important to me not to show Lena's responses or to not give the reader reassurance if she even responds, because we don't know. And I think because of that ambiguous space, I think maybe that allows the parents to retain more complexity as characters, because we don't know the backstory and we don't know the exact exchange that's occurring. And I remember when I was workshopping it, it was very much like Marmite, because some people love the text and other people despise them. But I think you need the text in the book for it to work, so I'm glad that I kept them. And I'm glad that they come across as multidimensional people, so that's great.
Yeah. There was something about the text that, again, like the eating disorder, there was something funny that happened where most or almost all the texts kind of seem to imply like very supportive, sometimes overly concerned, kind of like loving parents. And at the same time, suddenly out of the blue, there's mention of like a bad relationship with her father. And then there's so it's quite like, oh, again, like it seems that you can tell that you're only getting parts of the story.
And I think alluding to Lena's unreliability as a narrator as well, right? So kind of wanted to complicate that a little bit.
and then right at the end, the form of the texts change completely, where you're like, are these texts even from the
Yes.
parents? Or has Lena been writing them all along? So that's a whole other thing that happens.
Yeah, yeah. So there's an Easter egg in Creative Writing Week 9 where, this is a spoiler, but I don't think it's the kind of book you can spoil, so I'm going to say it anyway. So there's an Easter egg in Creative Writing Week 9 where she's reading C.A. Conrad's The Book of Frank, and the parents' texts later are formatted to look like those poems, because she starts doing that after her editing exercise in week 10. Yeah, so again, I think you could read it both ways. You could read it as like her manipulating the text or her writing the text, or you could also read it as this, I don't know, delirious chorus, because everything in her life has become so frenzied at that point, and there's just this kind of bubbling over. Yeah. So you can read it however you like.
Yeah,
It's all
and
valid.
you hold that ambiguity even within yourself, because sometimes they say, "Oh, but the writer should know what the real thing." But do you believe that, or do you also allow for all those realities?
That's such a tricky one, because I think initially I had a very cynical reading of it, and I know that for Hannah brought a lot of clarity to it, because the 3 registers now are rendered in different fonts,
Oh yeah,
which
okay.
I initially didn't have, because I initially wanted it to be more ambiguous, but I think it was ambiguous to the point where it was like quite confusing. So initially I had the cynical reading, but through the process of editing it, I think I changed my mind, and now I lean more towards the more optimistic reading. But I think I do hold both of them in my mind, but maybe I lean more towards the optimistic
Wait,
one.
what is the optimistic one?
The optimistic one is that that eventually she is happy, and she found an avenue, within creative writing, and she was able to recover from her eating disorder. That's the kind of happy version.
Interesting. I think we still have more questions. Does anyone have? Yeah.
Thinking more along the lines of what we've been talking about kind of illusions of things just like on the periphery, and then there's the other character who works not in the bookshop exactly, but in the kind of same central space, and occasionally
Callum?
interacts with Callum.
Yeah.
We never really understand that much about their relationship, and I'm just wondering, like, what was the purpose behind including Callum? Because he kind of seems like not really on either side. He's not necessarily on the side of the institution, but he's also not a Belle character in that situation.
Yeah. I think that I wanted something other than Belle within the workplace to make it more survivable for Lena. So I think it helped to have a character who she could, if not lean on, then maybe just like fantasize about as a form of distraction. And again, kind of leave that inkling that, maybe he'll eventually be a part of the community that she ends up building after the book. Mainly that, but also because someone told me I should introduce a character like that. And I think that's when the book was a lot more bleak. And then I think I agreed with the critique at the time, because I think it made sense to introduce some hope in her life.
Do you feel a bit differently now?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah. But I feel that way about lots of people. So.
Was this kind of in the context of your creating the novel within workshops? And
Yeah.
so was there quite a lot of sharing in the process of making it? And was that helpful?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Because I think I was also figuring out how much to say and how slight I wanted the work to be. But I think I had to find the right threshold where there's just enough for the reader to continue to engage, and it's not so obscure that people just are put off by it. So I think in defining that level, I think the workshopping was quite helpful. But it can also be quite tricky if you get conflicting feedback, and then eventually it's your work and you have to decide what works and what doesn't work.
Is it something you would recommend, though, the writing workshop? Do you find it helps?
I think so, or at least it helped me. I don't know if people who come from a creative writing background, there may be more confident or assertive in what they want to write. But I think I needed that kind of web of opinions around me to help shape the text. Did you workshop?
Yeah, I did the center with a workshop as well.
Okay,
like
yeah.
it was like an online Zoom workshop during COVID, and it made so much difference. Even if it was, it wasn't like a workshop of seasoned writers. It was sort of a more casual kind of affair, but nonetheless, just every week being accountable to someone, having to hand in your work, and also it was a very kind of warm place where people would generally be like supportive. I found it.
It's very supportive.
Yeah. I think I'd like to kind of find that again for myself because it makes a big difference.
It can be quite isolating otherwise, right?
But I've also been parts of more kind of seasoned writers communities, and some of those can actually turn a little bit twisted, I think.
Okay, I see.
Like, so it depends on the environment, I think, because if it's like overly critical, that can be inhibiting, I think. But no, I'm very thirsty for something like that again. Yeah, I miss it. Are you in a workshop at the moment, or
for poetry? Not for prose. Which again is very supportive. So I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, it makes a difference. Are there more questions? Yes.
I had a question because I feel like it's been mentioned a few times about how the book started quite bleak, and then you've added in humour or you've added in other characters. And I just wondered if you had any reflections on why it started so bleak to you just, first come into it, but also why you felt the need to add these other elements in, and
that's such a good question. I think maybe the book started from a place of emotional immaturity when I was at a stage in my life where I was very despondent. So I think maybe it was initially an outlet for me, and then I started doing some therapy. Maybe that helped me change my outlook, or maybe if not change my outlook, then I think detach myself from the work, and then there was a point where it stopped being a cathartic project for me, and then it became a literary work, and then I had to think about what works for the text and what doesn't work for the text. So maybe initially there was an element of self-indulgence, which hopefully gradually ebbed.
That's a really interesting response. That cut in itself is so fascinating when it happens, right? Where you're suddenly like looking at it from outside. Sometimes it's usually just time. And then the whole book looks, it's almost as if you have, I don't know if you've had this, but it's almost as if you haven't written it, and that's when the real work can happen. When you find that distance.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because I reread it the other day before the event, and I was like, oh wait, like, what happened here? And I think in a way it was really nice to have that like detachment from it, right? Because I've made something and I put it out into the world, and like it's not mine anymore, it's everyone else's. And I think that helps.
Do you get impacted though by people's reactions? Are you very, because I find that challenging to be like stoic in the face of other people's.
I haven't so far, probably because my friends have been saying lots of nice things about it.
Kidding.
So I think it's stroked my ego a lot. I'm not sure how I would take that, although I do stand by it, that I think it's for the reader to interpret in the way they want to. So I don't necessarily feel the need to explain it to people in that sense. I'm in fact more interested in how they interpreted it.
Totally.
And which I
and
think
sometimes
is really
what it tells you about them, like
because it tells you a lot.
So much. More questions? No? Okay, maybe we can, more questions? No. Okay, maybe we can wrap up, but can you tell us what you're reading at the moment? What you're watching, what you're listening to in general, what media you're consuming?
I don't think I'm watching anything. What, do you remember? What are we watching? Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Which is quite funny. Although we were saying last night that there's a lot of propaganda going on in season 4. So now I'm a bit yeah.
He's in this new show that's about to come out with Riz.
Oh, Babe.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm excited about that too.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon Prime, which is annoying.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe I'll stream it later. I can't intellectualize Man Like My Bean, so I think we'll just maybe we'll just park that. For reading,
No, but there is something about it. Like,
there's
Man
so
Like
much
My Bean would
about
not
it.
have existed a decade ago. There's something about
No.
it that's like, yeah,
no.
yeah.
And I feel like the propaganda has like intensified over the seasons.
That's interesting. I didn't know about that because I haven't seen the latest.
Because initially I was like, okay, maybe just a bit of, cop washing. Now I'm like, why are they best friends? I don't
Oh my
understand. It's
God. Oh.
yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, that's for the book 2. So I'm not reading technically, but I recently read Mother Mary Comes to Me by Arundhati Roy, which I loved. Even though I tend not to love memoirs, but I think this one was really well done, and the way she depicted her relationship with her mother and like how she's constantly been like untangling the kindness from the cruelty. I think that was just so well done. So I would recommend that. I know it's a hardback, but yeah.
Yeah.
What are you reading?
You mentioned it to me and I was like, oh, it's a
Yeah.
hardback. And then I went to the library, but there's like a wait list for it, so I still
Yeah.
haven't got it. But,
But then you got that book about the dog from the library.
oh, yeah, I did. What was it called? Do you remember?
I can't remember the name.
Adelaide
now.
something. Anyway, that was interesting. Yeah, it had a dog on the cover. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, so I recently, a good book that I recently read is Perfection. We were talking about this as well.
Yeah.
By Vincenzo Latronico.
Yeah.
It's translated from the Italian. And it's about like a couple who are like these digital nomads, and they're trying to create this life essentially of perfection. And there's something about it that captured something in our culture that just felt so kind of resonant. But he wasn't so judgy or critical that it became like, oh, look at them. Like it wasn't. It's really like a mirror, like
Yeah,
there's like
definitely.
something in that book that shifts something within you. I think when you read, like those are my favorite kinds of books. Where it's like a mirror.
I really liked it as well.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, if we don't have any, if we don't have any more questions?
Maybe I can do a quick shout out before we finish.
Go ahead.
So some friends from the London School of Solar Punk are here, and I'm going to do a little event with them on Tuesday. Ava, do you want to say something about it?
Yeah, that's for the real fans, people who the same book but in a different place.
I'll say precisely the same things as I did today.
It's going to be slightly different though, because we're doing, with Ali, we're running a series of events called Union Futures, and it's kind of to reflect on and imagine the futures of work. And obviously Nida's book is very much about the world of work, so we're going to also have a discussion, but maybe more like delve deeper into like the topic of work and how you depict it in the book. And yeah, as part of this event, we also have a corporate confessions open mic. Where we get, I'm sure Nina would have probably not done it, but maybe Belle would have taken the mic.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So, if you've got any good anecdotes about work, and if you want to see Nida again, come to Pose Bar on Tuesday. It's at 7:30. There'll be some dinner, and I've got some flyers as well.
Joey, maybe we could give you some flowers.
That's it, I think.
Amazing. Sounds fun. Thank you so much. So we're going to stick around to sign books and to chat or whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks,
and
everyone.
for celebrating with us.
Yay.